Hello and welcome back to the I-League Season 2 Southeast Asian Qualifiers here on HeflaTV. I am Grandis Field, be joined again by Mike Loris for Game 3 of this best-of-3 series between MiTH Trust and Invasion Esports.
All right, so we had a couple of mistakes from MiTH in the last game, and it ended up being a little bit too much for them to recover from. They're going to drop game 2 as Invasion tied the series, so they're going to open up the draft. Faceless Void, Vengeful Spirit, might see some Chronosphere combinations, though I think if you're going to be opening up with the Faceless Void, I generally like the Scarith Mage a little bit more. It's a solid combination nonetheless, as Vengeful Spirit is a pretty good counter to Faceless Void, so you might as well act your first pick as a ban as well.
Yeah, fair enough, and it is going to be pretty nice for them. Elder Titan picked up by MiTH Trust is going to flavor their draft with a little bit of minus armor between the Eye of the Storm and the Natural Order. They have a decent amount of damage on both sides. I'm not sure exactly who wins in these first two picks. I think both teams have a plan coming into this draft, and both of them pretty much got what they wanted. Invasion, with Vengeful Spirit and Faceless Void, definitely winning when it comes to lockdown compared to MiTH Trust, but they still have plenty of picks to remedy that.
Yeah, MiTH Trust, they have quite a bit of damage, and right now Invasion, Faceless Void in the early stages could do some decent damage, but it really depends on him getting ahead. So it is right now MiTH Trust just running with a whole bunch of damage and raw power, whereas Invasion, they need a little bit more finesse, and they need to get their positioning right a little bit more. Not to say that that's better or worse than or anything, it's just how it's going to be. Maybe we're going to see some more minus armor coming out from the MiTH Trust side. Tidehunter still available and would be a pretty solid pickup there. Or if they don't want to go for that, then always going for a Dazzle is nice as support for minus armor if they really want to go deep. Crossing my fingers for a Slardar, but I don't really know what the chances of that happening are. Ogre Magi still in the pool would be decent for either side, as I'm pretty sure MiTH are going to run this Elder Titan in an off-lane solo. That was game number 1, right? I'm not crazy?
Yeah, it was. It was in a dual lane with the Ogre. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a pickup for Invasion. If it wasn't the Ogre, I would say it's the Witch Doctor, but still a decent pickup.
Yeah, so they'll have double stuns, Ogre Magi, melee support, but if you already have a Vengeful Spirit on your team, you'll be fine. And they will be able to kill off pretty much whoever's in that off lane, assuming it's going to be Elder Titan. Then, well, he's not going to have a chance in hell. And even Razor is not really safe from the Ogre Magi Venge combination, as they will just be packing one too many stuns. For MiTH, this is really, I think, going to be the pick where they show which direction they're going to go for. Are they going to go for a huge amount of minus armor, or are they going to be happy with what they have? TA is definitely not a hero that you want to pick up right now. I would say if they are going to go for minus armor but still want to keep their options open, then Dazzle is probably the best one.
If they want to go for the Elder Titan as a support, Tidehunter is available and wouldn't necessarily lock them in to going for minus armor, but still would be a decent pickup for them. Yeah, I think the Dazzle is probably the safest course of action here. Yeah, not much else to say. MiTH Trust, they haven't really shown their cards as to exactly what they want to do.
All right, I actually like the Tidehunter a little bit more. I mentioned it before, but it just randomly slipped my mind, so I would like to see the Tidehunter here for MiTH Trust. Having a Ravage, even though Jab's Ravages last game were kind of it's certainly possible to have a complete turnaround, and Ravage is also really good against Faceless Void's Chronosphere. If he drops it, and if it's not going to include the Tidehunter in it, then Ravage is going to bail you out. Lesser combination with Elder Titan, though maybe MiTH Trust want to pick up a couple of their supports heroes now. I think Tidehunter is probably the safest way to go.
More than likely. If they want to go for it, the Mirana Shadow Demon combination isn't bad either, although I think that's a little bit weaker. Defensive disruptions are really nice against Void.
Yeah, so they have options upon options, but they're going to take their sweet time in figuring this one out. They haven't disconnected or anything like that, so it's always worth checking, I suppose. I'm trying to think of other directions that they could possibly go. That is one I guess they can go, getting more Lightning. So they're Team Lightning right now, and I don't think there are any more Lightning heroes. Storm Spirit, if they really want to go deep in the theme, but Zeus as a pickup is okay, but even with the combination of Elder Titan, not sure if it's going to be enough for Invasion. Maybe they're going to go for a Spectre again and just try to go back to game 1.
If they want to go for Lightning, Disruptor's there, and honestly, that's not a terrible pick. But I don't think they will. Batrider is the choice for Invasion, presumably going towards their offlaner to give that Faceless Void more room, and with the other heroes that they've picked up, Faceless Void doesn't have a lot to set up for with the Chronosphere, so he's going to be the one doing the damage inside the Chrono, and with a Bloodlust as well as Wave of Terror and Vengeance Sword to back that up. It is pretty scary if you do get the items.
Myth Trust, they're not going to go all the way back to game one. They're going to match their game one and game two drafts together to form what you see on your screen right now. Morphling the pick for Myth Trust. Maybe this time they're actually going to go dedicated into the late game. As last game, their late game was okay with the Morphling, but they were kind of using him as just a hedge. Right now, they have a whole lot of power in the late game if they want to take it late. With the Elder Titan, the Zeus Ultimate, we already saw the impact of that skill later on, or earlier on rather. It's possible for Myth Trust just to turtle out this game. They need one more support hero, I imagine, and it's probably going to be partnered with Elder Titan down towards bottom. But for Myth Trust, I think their lineup is pretty solid. It's not going to be extremely risky with the Night Stalker or anything.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more stable than what we saw. Honestly, from both sides, Myth Trust probably are a little bit more volatile when it comes to their lineup, because even if Invasion are behind, they still have ways to get fights on their own terms where Myth Trust can't really contest against that. And in that sense, I like the Tidehunter ban, even though it would force them to run both the Elder Titan and Zeus as support, unless we have some like super next level Morphling support maxing out Adaptive Strike with Strength Morph, but that's never going to happen in the history of Dota, so...
10 seconds to go.
Yeah, I think it's a solid ban, just so that they can make sure that they have the team fight edge.
5 seconds.
And Invasion should have that one pretty much on lockdown, unless Myth Trust were to pick up a Silencer, but obviously not going to happen anymore. So Invasion, I think right now they just need more damage. Silencer won't really be the hero to contribute all that much. Looking towards the mid lane, I would assume for Invasion, and Invoker's looking... Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Invoker
There you
too.
go.
It's a pretty nice pick here. Just offering Sunstrikes, some decent lockdown as well. I don't think he can get much better than that. As far as a mid laner that's going to pump damage into the Chronosphere, Deafening Blast, Meteor, and Sunstrike all do quite a large amount.
And worst case scenario, you have just like Lasso Sunstrike, which is also pretty damn good. As far as killing off Zeus, Elder Titan, to a lesser extent Razor, like these are all very nice combinations that the Invoker has, and early game Sunstrikes just off of a Magic Missile Fire Blast without the Chronosphere even being leveled up. These are all opportunities for the Invoker, so it's a pretty cut and dry pick, I would say, for Invasion and Myth. They now know who the mid lane is going to be. Invoker doesn't exactly hard counter that many heroes as far as powerful heroes still available for the mid lane. I don't really know who would synergize very well for them. They could probably just throw Razor there and be fine, so I think they're okay in that regard. It's going to be a Lich for their support. That's reasonable for Myth, I think. It is pretty passive, though.
Yeah, and in that sense, I don't really like it, but I can't really find anything that would be better, per se, so, I mean, sure, why not?
All right, so Lich is going to be picked up. It's always a lukewarm pick, even though he's a nice hero. They are going to disappoint me with their lack of commitment towards a theme, but either way, it's still Lich going to be picked up. And overall, I think Invasion, they have probably a stronger draft. They have the AoE teamfight combination. They have the initiation power with the Bat Rider. They have early game presence with their stunners and Invoker Sunstrikes. Myth, they definitely can make a lot of stuff happen, but it's not as easy to execute as Invasion have a very clear game plan.
Interesting. For now, we're actually going to see Invoker loading out with boots, but I suppose I'll introduce the dire side. We're going to have Noki playing on the Lich SD, on the Zeus Razor safe lane farming by MyPro, mid Morphling, Bylakels, and offlane Elder Titan played by Jab.
And on the Invasion side, Ketchikimba is going to be playing the Faceless Void Shen GG. Where the hell did he come from? He's going to be playing the Vengeful Spirit support. Ghost is going to be on the Bat Rider. ADTR on the support Ogre Magi. And FZ is going to be handling the Invoker. But yeah, Boots versus Invoker is something that we don't really see all that often. You don't usually get Boots unless you know that you're going to be up against a Razor. And unfortunately, he's going to guess wrong. Myth, they're going to run a dual lane over in mid. Boots still not a terrible choice for Invoker first, as when you pick up Brown Boots as your opener, you're that much closer to phase, which is usually pretty standard. But if it's pretty much 100% for anti-Razor purposes, and it's not going to meet its goal.
No, it's not. This dual lane coming out from Myth is one of the strongest ones you're going to see, and Myth just passively denying that experience away from the enemy side. The constant harass coming out from Lich as well, and there's always the threat that if you drop too low to that, you just have a waveform over the top. And as far as mid heroes are concerned, Invoker not going to be going into a bottle is going to be hard pressed to sustain his healing, even with Quas regen.
And you don't really want to be going for a whole bunch of Quas regen either. You want to be getting out Exort as fast as possible. Maybe, just maybe, he's going to be going for a Wex Invoker, but it seems unlikely given his own team. They do have an Ogre Magi with Haste Rune and an Ignite level 1. Killing off Lakel's is actually not impossible, but it is very unlikely, especially when Naki sees ADTR. But now the Lich is in quite a bit of trouble because Ogre with Haste Rune is freaking scary, and even though the Haste Rune just runs out, still he has Boots laying 2 shots into the Lich. That's quite a bit of damage for not much spent from the Ogre. Not really going to matter too much in the long run, however.
Yeah. Even though it's a little bit of time, I suppose, wasted by the Ogre, there's not much else he'd be doing across the map. 14 damage stolen by the Bat Rider means that CSing with Bat is pretty darn hard. It's worse than Techies. And down in bottom lane's on lockdown for Invasion, so even though Invoker is going to have a pretty bad time, and speaking of bad times, he's going to be aggressed upon, they will get the waveform as well as Frost Blast on
top.
the Invoker. Whoa!
No use crying over spilled blood.
Well, aggression over towards mid, whereas the real kill was happening up towards top. Razor being a little bit too aggressive versus Ghost, and the Observer Ward from the Dire, it only has like a vertical pillar of vision, so by the time ADR was actually seen, it was way too late. The Invoker was like, the Razor rather, was way too deep in trying to go for Ghost, so ADTR very easily rotating in, has the most aggressive build you could open up with as Ogre Magi as far as items are concerned. Ignite level 1 does more damage than Fire Blast, and Boots of Speed is great as well, and MyPro is going to be on the receiving end for a second time. Will drain a lot of damage from Bat Rider, so there's turnaround potential here, but no, it's only 7. Never mind, he's completely and utterly screwed. Invasion are going to start things off with a 2-0 advantage up on the top lane.
And it's a really important advantage as well. Getting that second kill for Ghost, he's going to be on his way towards a Blink Dagger. And Ogre Magi, as far as supports that can make good use of those early items, he's a pretty good one. The Orb of Venom as well as Boots, pretty much enough to go really aggressive anywhere. Down in bottom, Elder Titan's looking pretty easy to kill.
Yeah, and Jab is going to be on the receiving end of this most of the time. Woof woof. 2 points in that time walk, and even if he just jumps on the Elder Titan without any sort of backup at all, he'll be able to put out some pretty decent damage. It's not the most expensive skill, but Faceless Void doesn't really want to be spamming it like that. If they do rotate the Ogre Magi down here with a Sunstrike, which is currently not available, they'll be able to get something going. Invoker only level 3 right now versus level 3-3 of the Morphling and Lich. So Invoker not having the best of times over in mid. In fact, he's having a very, very bad time. So maybe it's time for the Ogre to join up with Avenge, and maybe it's time for them to test the mid lane, try to kill off this Lich.
Potentially. FCFC, he is making a little bit of a stack for himself in the large camp. As far as mid-heroes that can clear stacks, it's possible, but not really until you have Meteor up for Invoker, and that requires a point in Wex, which is going to sacrifice your Forge Spirits at level 8, or level 9, excuse me.
And it's also going to make your Sunstrike that much weaker, and you really don't want to be doing that if you're Invoker in this game. Exort is going to be crucial, but he's once again going to get jumped upon. Lakel's just with the waveform, right-clicks, Frost Blast as well, dropping the Invoker down to half, and Invoker is not a hero that you want to get zoned out. He needs his gold and he needs his experience even more importantly. He's not going to have either one of those if they keep zoning him, and it looks like that's pretty much going to be the case. Invoker can't afford to get close. This dual lane mid is working out marvelously for MiTH, and it's maybe at the expense of Jab down towards bottom, but even he's not doing too terribly.
Yeah, I think that's the most surprising thing for me, is that Jab has been able to find himself level 4 and hasn't died, and is even CSing better than the Invoker by quite a bit, actually.
He's going to get into a fight with Woof Woof, but it looks like that fight isn't going to go that well. Invoker being shut down this hard is very rarely seen. It is really only possible with the likes of probably like OD or a Viper or something like that, or this dual lane. But even then, this dual lanes like this usually don't do this well. They get farm for the Morphling, which is nice, and that's usually the goal, but getting the Invoker shut down is just a bonus, and well, for right now, an Ogre is going to look to change that, maybe. Naki is very far behind, however. A Fire Blast into Sunstrike does do quite a bit of damage, won't directly be lethal, and Ogre is not going to find his opening. He has to leave. This is not a good mid lane situation for Invasion, though Bat Rider, I think, may be doing well enough that it's going to not matter in the long run. If he gets a fast Blink Dagger, then as bad as Invoker is doing right now, it could all just not matter at all.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the question for me. Even though they are securing this Morphling farm and shutting down the Invoker, will Morphling be able to have an immediate impact with this farm in order to really make a difference? And it doesn't look like it. Lakel's, it appears to be a Midas for him.
I think that's pretty reasonable given how much farm he actually has been getting. And for MiTH, if they decide to stall out for the late game, that's good as well. It'll let FC recover in this lane for sure, and you could try to push your advantage by taking a couple of towers, but anything outside of that is probably not going to be worth your time. Wolf is still on the bottom lane. Ketchik is farming up very, very well, and that's something that's going to be a growing concern for the MiTH Trust side moving forward. Once Chronosphere is up, then wherever the Stasis Void goes, there will probably be someone to kill in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, right now Batrider invading the enemy woods is going to be farming up a couple of stacks. Looks like he actually wants to stack up this large camp before farming it, and I think that's fine since MiTH just don't have the heroes to abuse that, and he's going to be doing that immediately. Venge, they found themselves an Elder Titan in mid with the Cold Snap. They just don't have enough damage, even though the Sunstrike connects. It's 19 to survive on the Elder Titan Haste Runeaver. On to ShenGG, wants this kill so bad. Can he find it? Let's see. I think the answer is no. He's going to wave, and that's going to miss.
Wouldn't have even had enough damage, even if he did connect. Unfortunately, I think there was one miss there from the uphill, and that is going to let the Elder Titan get away, but that's pretty much expected value. He was probably going to survive in most of those cases, so is Elder Titan to survive, though he does get really roughed up. There is a stack now, and they are going to spot it. This is not going to be easily cleared by MiTH, but it's also not going to be easily cleared by Ghost, so probably not worth stacking the enemy jungle when you could stack your own. Lakel's going to actually have a nice Midas farm in there.
Yeah, definitely, and he'll be able to mop up one of those large creeps. I thought he'd be able to farm it immediately, but if you're not, stacking up the enemy woods is very risky unless you have a substantial lead and the enemy's already bottled up inside their base. And when they're still tier 1 towers, that's not the case. Still have yet to see anything outside of the first blood, as well as that one kill onto the Elder Titan. However, the Batrider is dropping low. He's going to have his completed Blink Dagger very, very soon. In fact, the stack might give it to him. It'll be close either way.
Yeah, so either way, it's just going to be a hop, skip, and a jump away from that Blink Dagger. Is only going to be about 100 gold away from that one after all is said and done. So that is certainly an item that can turn around a lane, and he's going to need it very quickly to help out the Invoker, who is going for a Midas of his own. I think that's a necessity for Invoker, especially in this situation when you're behind. Pretty much for Exort Invoker, unless you're looking to end the game immediately, which then you're probably not going to be happy picking up the Invoker, but you're going to be going for that Midas. Exort especially, you need those levels up in order to have a large impact, and well, the Batrider now has his Blink completed, so it should be on the mid lane where he sets his sights, though killing off Morphling is really, really difficult, even with Sunstrike. Killing off Lich is so easy.
It really is. And with the regeneration, he's going to pop that and then make to look a turn with this Blink Dagger. It's not entirely unexpected that Batrider, especially being involved in 2 kills and not really being touched at all, is going to have his Blink by now. But still, it should be an opening that Ghost should be able to capitalize on very easily. He might look up towards top, but in the meantime, it's Elder Titan to fall down in bottom. Even with some backup from the Zeus, just not enough. Faceless Void drops low, but it'll get some Tango support from the Venge.
That's pretty much par for the course. Faceless Void versus Elder Titan. You drop a Chronosphere, you're probably going to be getting a kill. Top lane, it's going to be a jump on the Ogre, but who's jumping on who right now? Ghost is going to get the lasso onto Nucky. However, ADTR dropping very low to the Razor. Chain Frost is out, which will force Ghost back as Ignite flies the way of MyPro. Still Ghost not quite done yet. He's going to jump forward with a little bit more burn damage. Will kill off the Lich. Now going on to the Razor. This is going to be 2 kills going the way of Ghost. That's going to mean this Batrider is getting out of control. Now on a killing spree with get a double kill up towards top. It's very rare that you see, well, that. Morphling's not supposed to die there. That's just wrong. But bottom lane, Faceless Void sticking around for way too long. Gets hit with the Spirit, gets hit with the Bolt. Now Thunder God's Wrath is up. But as I was saying, it's very rare to see Blink Dagger lead to 2 kills. 1 is pretty much the plan, but man, you rarely get 2 kills in Batrider ever.
For sure. And it's going to benefit Invasion. That Sunstrike, if it landed, would have given Invoker the kill, and I think it might have been worth it to leave it for FZFC, but it is risky. I think they could have gotten away with it. But either way, he's going to be working towards his Midas, and is just going to be playing a catch-up game from here on out. And honestly, if you compare his net worth to that of the Razor, he's actually beating the Razor, which is impressive, just based on how hard he was shut down. Razor was at about the same level.
Yeah, well, FZ has been zoned out of lane, but he wasn't actually killed at all, so think that's really where the difference comes in. MiPro now chilling on the mid lane. He's going to feel pretty safe with his current surroundings. Has an observe ward to spot over the river, so there is a very, very small chance that Razor actually goes down here. A little bit of a larger chance, though, of catching the invisible Elder Titan. Finds the perfect rune for the scenario, and he's going to keep himself safe because of it. Unfortunately, no true sight for Invasion, and Titan is going to be just fine, but barely. If he got lassoed there, he would have pretty much been dead for sure, but he's still in the area, messing with Ghost a little bit, just trying to steal a little bit of experience. He does have backup incoming in the form of Zeus, and with level 2 natural order, killing off Ghost is going to be fairly simple if they could catch up to him, but Ghost is a little bit too quick, and he also is now close enough to FC so that if they do make a jump in, FC's going to turn things around, but now they can actually go for FC, which is probably even the better kill, because Invoker, you don't want to give him his MiTH. And here we go. It's going to be lightning to fly from every which way, and Thunder God's Wrath to get the kill. Easily done there.
That is the saddest death that you can have as an Invoker. He was actually just like 10 gold away from picking up that MiTH. Maybe even a little bit less than that, in fact. But yeah, going to end up losing 200, and when you're already behind, that's pretty crippling. Good rotation from MiTH.
Something about that bottom tower.
They're going to go up on top lane, though. Lakel's now going to get beaten down after taking the lasso to the face. He does have waveform and maxed out strength morph, but you just can't get away from that fire and the tar. And Batrider is going to claim his 4th kill of the game. In the meantime, bottom lane, Chronosphere is going to drop, and it will be enough to kill off the Elder Titan. However, it will be at the trade of the Venge, sitting in tower range for just a little bit too long, making a 1-for-1 in favor still of Invasion, but yeah, it's probably not the cleanest kill they could have had. Still, it's Faceless Void getting another kill. Invoker helping out as well. It's going to give him his MiTH even after dying. Overall, for Invasion, they are more or less in control of this game. They have to worry about the Razor and Zeus's burst potential, and maybe the Morphling late game. But even if it does go to a late game scenario, I think the Faceless Void has enough. I would like to see maybe a Faceless Void go for the Hand of MiTH. I would have liked to see him. It's too late now, but the build he's going for is fine.
Yeah, it definitely is. This is really for him to find those kills by himself. Sunstrike on top of it's just going to make it even easier. Finds himself a regeneration rune to sustain while he's going through the jungle, and it looks like it's going to be a BKB for him very early on, even though you'd like to pick up the BKB later up against his Zeus. Not to mention like the Lich and Morphling, it's more or less a necessity.
Yeah, so I think this is perfectly justifiable for the Faceless Void, and he will not have any shortage of damage with the Invoker now packing the MiTH and a hell of a lot of damage to boot, so eventually it's going to be damage items for him, I'm sure. I don't think this is the game for Aghanim, Scepter, or Fresh Aura, but they're going to actually run into MiPro. Chain Frost is out, which will annihilate ADTR, plus with the Thunder God's Wrath will kill him off both in an instant. FC needs one more nuke to kill him off. Plasma Field not just in time. Wolf's going to time walk in, bash down MiPro. In the meantime, Venge is going to lose her life. However, Wolf now going to try to go for Naki, gets a bash finally. The damage might be there, and it will be. Stomp is going to miss as Wolf backtracks a lightning bolt. Going to collect a double kill, still a 2 for 3 in favor of MiTH, and it looks like that should just about be the end of it. That burst damage from the Lich Chain Frost. Wolf actually going to get into a fight with Lakel's, and it won't be resulting into anything, but man, that damage from the Lich Chain Frost and the Thunder God's Wrath, that's pretty much the dream scenario for Lich.
It really is, especially when you have an Astral Spirit on top of it. Even though it's not maxed out in the natural order, that's still a large sum of damage amplification. Then again, they also jump in mid. They're going to try to bash down Lakel. Sunstrike comes through. They Chronosphere him. He's still strength morphing through all of this, but now he's out of it. He's completely gone.
Now they're going to try to go for Naki. They have a multicast to boot, and they're going to get 2 kills. Those bashes from Ketchikimba, let me tell you, the Morphling was like, he had his head extended out in the waveform animation, but he got bashed as soon as he was about to go, and now they're going to jump forward for more. However, MiPro is more than happy to turn things around. He gets Deafening Blasted into a magic missile. There's no lasso from Ghost. He's going to get put to sleep, and now SD going to lay into the Ghost, but it will fall short. MiPro is now going to get focused down by the Ogre Magi, plus Faceless Void and Venge. They will get that kill in the end. They're going to drop their Batrider pretty low, but he will find a rune, and he will get back up to reasonable amounts of HP with the lasso now available. MiTH, they're just bleeding heroes right now. Actually, Ghost is going to get his life saved due to that rune. Thunder God's Wrath and Spirit will not kill him off. Now he has to back off all the way to base, but he gets to live. A massive series of exchanges in favor of Invasion, just taking win upon win upon win, and Ketchikimba being the driving force behind most of that.
Yeah, especially now that he's almost at his BKB. Right now, the only hero on MiTH that's actually keeping up is the Morphling, and he's gone for a MiTH. Honestly, I don't think it matters that he goes for MiTH. No matter what item he picks up, it's not going to have enough immediate impact to really warrant not going for the Hand of MiTH. And MiTH are in a situation where they can't really take it late, but they have to.
Morthling late game. We saw its power late game and
Radiant's
last
top tower
game rather, and he has his
shaking.
Hand of Midas working, but up against what Faceless Void is getting, even though Faceless Void does not have a Hand of Midas, he's still farming as though he does. And the Batrider Invoker, well, they're recovering, or Invoker rather, is recovering in a hurry. So Invasion, they're brawling a lot more than I really would have expected from them. Like, even when Lasso is down, they're going to go in. That's very rarely seen, but now that Lasso's up, maybe they're going to go for a little bit more. It'll be much safer. Chain Frost is available, as is the Titan Ultimate. Not too sure how valuable that will be, but Ghost, if he's not spotted out right now, and he's currently not, then he might be able to get some blood over in the mid lane. Although, I don't really know if that range creep spotted him. This Observer Ward certainly will. So, Ghost is on the hunt, and MiTH, they have to be so careful about this.
Yep, they do, and for now they are careful enough, except for maybe the Lich. He's going to TP. They are fighting, trying to catch him out, but he's lassoed, canceling the TP, pulling him back. The Lich is going to take a spill here, even with a Zeus ultimate flying through. The Faceless Void also survives in the scuffle down in bottom, and won't die to that Astral Spirit, even if it connected. Ignite flying towards Jab. He's looking for the stomp. That is going to disrupt ADCR, but not enough. Still a convincing win for Invasion. They lose nothing and take 2.
Dire's mid tower.
I wasn't exactly watching what was happening to the Razor, but I'm assuming he just got a face full of Chronosphere and Invoker, and that's never what you want to have happen. Now 6 deaths on the Razor, has his mech, but that's about it. I'm actually surprised he has his mech completed. I guess just having free farm up on top lane for a little bit gave him that item, but that's all he's going to be able to contribute to this team, as he's just been constantly hunted down and not good times. They're going to also Invasion take 1 tier 1 tower at the very least. Double Forge Spirits can put some slow pressure over on the bottom lane tower as well. So MiTH, they just have to change something, but I don't even know what they can change. They just have to get initiation on their terms, I think. But good luck doing that up against a Faceless Void and a Batrider. It's so rare that MiTH are going to get initiation.
Especially their heroes. What do they actually have? Maybe in theory you could get a Eul Scepter on the Elder Titan, Eul Scepter into Stomp, but it's iffy at best. They don't have anything that is actually super useful at keeping somebody in place or starting fights.
And that's going to be a problem for them pretty much for the rest of the game. Yeah, maybe as you said, Eul Scepter is going to be a tool, but that's only going to initiate onto one guy. And that's not even a great way of initiating either. Like Batrider initiation, yeah, that's on one guy as well, but it's Batrider. He could drag that guy so far away, and not much that you could actually do about that. The Invasion side, they're going to smoke up, and they are going to be on the hunt. If they find anyone right now, they're just going to get that kill. But it looks like MiTH are, fortunately for MiTH, positioned in such a way that they're not going to be in too much trouble until they set their sights on the kills. Ghost has a Blink Dagger Force Staff. He could hunt down this courier. In fact, they're going to get this courier. 1 whack each? No, they're going to be patient. They want Lakels. They're going to get him as well. Chronosphere available. Into the bubble you go. Or not. Don't even need it, I suppose. Well, no, now they're... Okay, there we go. They get the Morphling. They let the courier go, which is unfortunate, but FC on the meantime, bottom lane, is into Ghost Walk. Will be revealed by Thunder God's Wrath. They have Lightning Bolt for True Sight, but they need to kill him off with it. SD, where are you going to guess? He guesses correctly because of the static link showing exactly where he was. Invoker down, but here comes the Faceless Void. Happy he saved his Chronosphere from before. He can get pulled back a little bit from the Earth Splitter, but he still will have enough to kill off 1. Now he's going to go on to MyPro. He is doing full damage right now. He's going to instead change his mind and go for Naki, as MyPro is going to be finished off by Shen. That's going to be 2 kills for the Faceless Void, 3 for the team, and MiTH, they just get utterly demolished down towards bottom. Way too much to be spent for just an Invoker kill. That's not going to be worth it, not ever. Zeus is not a part of that, and he gets to live, but if he was down there, I'm sure he would have died as well.
For sure. There's not really much that the Zeus could have done more than he already accomplished. Zeus is going to be going for a Veil, but honestly, not sure if I like this choice. It's going to be really nice. I don't know. It's probably better than Aghanim's with the Natural Order, and since he'd probably not get the Axe at a decent time, but he's probably just going to fall way too quickly. 2-1 tower down in bottom is also going to take a spill as Faceless Void gets that tower destruction. Now after the BKB, we're going to have a completed Maelstrom and just 100 gold or so. A couple hundred gold or so.
19-7 right now. Invasion a little bit, or close to tripling up MiTH's score, and I think that might actually be happening very soon because it's going to be Naki. He is going to get bashed down in a hurry, and also Jab is spotted. Force Staff, blink forward. He's not going to get the lasso off quite yet. ADCR is actually going to be the one to fall. Got caught with a random stomp, and he will take a fall right there. 1-for-1 support for support. Probably the best MiTH can hope for, given the initiation circumstances. Ghost, I don't know why he actually didn't get the Flaming Lasso off. He had to use the Force Staff to get himself close in, but I think he probably should have still went for it. Either way, They have the lasso still, and they're going to go for MyPro. And MyPro has just not gotten a break this entire game. Sunstrike not even going to hit, I don't think, but it doesn't even matter.
Nope, it really doesn't. That's going to be your complete Maelstrom for the Faceless Void. And for 20 minutes in, this is pretty ridiculous farm. Mask, BKB, and Maelstrom. He's not only impossible for the enemy to kill, he's also going to take at least 2 of them with him inside the Chronosphere and after.
And now it's on to Jab. He's spotted out. There's a random Chronosphere. I mean, I would have time walked in. I don't even think they need to Chronosphere, but it's a kill. And a Chronosphere for a kill is perfectly reasonable right now. Woof woof. Catching it, but now up to 9-1-6. This Faceless Void is getting freaking out of control, man. Like, the Morphling, he's not going to be able to hold a candle to this Faceless Void. He has not been able to hold a candle. 0-4-0 versus the 9-1-6. Pretty much polar opposites as far as their contributions to the team. And they're not even done yet. Nucky, he's trying to push mid. He's going to get jumped upon. Ice Armor? No, that's not going to work. It's a godlike streak now for Kechik Imba. He's just going to every lane. Wherever he goes, death follows. And MyPro, he's once again going to run into a bad situation. This time it's not as bad as before, but it's still enough to kill him off because he's so freaking weak. Batrider is here just for funsies. Invoker's going to get, for the most part, a solo kill on the Razor. And MiTH, they're just bleeding heroes, but I don't even know if they're bleeding heroes. They're hemorrhaging heroes.
Yeah, it's not pretty at all. And there's not really an end game either. You have a Morphling with Lincolns and MiTH, and I suppose you might want to take this out late with him, but he's just not getting enough farm to back that up. They look for ADTR down bottom. They should be able to get him. Adaptive Strike doesn't even finish him off. Morphling still gets a kill with 1 more auto tech, but they jump in. They get the Blink Lasso onto Lakel's. Thunder God's Wrath going to do quite a bit of return damage to the Faceless Void. Now joining the party, he's going to be able to bash down the Morphling. Now into Jab, my goodness. And now SD also in a heap of trouble. He is going to take down the bat before he falls. Gem on the deck, but it's going to be retrieved. Faceless Void is unstoppable at this point. He's going to have a complete up Mjolnir, and Invoker is also completely caught up into this game. Necrobook, now level 3.
And I think most of this is due to the Faceless Void. It's not too common that we see Faceless Voids do this much work for a team. Yeah, they'll be able to get a couple kills, but 19 of them? Seriously, Faceless Void, you have to calm yourself down. He's just all over the place, and he has proper backup as well. This is the power of Vengeful Spirit and Ogre as supports. They will be able to go every which way. They have backup stuns, and when you're talking about stuns and Faceless Void, you can't really escape from that no matter what you do. Ketchikimba's looking for more. The bottom lane is not safe. Nowhere is really safe from MiTH, honestly. And unless they're going to always be as a 5-man squad, they're just going to get picked off constantly. Naki's smoked. Well, he'll know if anyone's nearby, but I don't think that's going to help him because here comes a Chronosphere onto 2. Both these heroes are so freaking dead right now. There's one, there's the other. FZ's somehow going to take both of them, but that's fine because Invasion, they're still holding on to their almost 3-1 kill score advantage.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just not really a light at the end of the tunnel for MiTH. Let's see, what can they actually do?
Something about that bottom tower.
Huh. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I actually don't know. They have the maxed out aura from the Elder Titan, and they can do a decent amount of damage, but I think it relies more on RNG and getting a godly Chain Frost.
Like, the usual things to look at are, will BKBs help? Will Blink Daggers help? Will Initiation help? And I think on all 3 of those aspects, the answer is no, or maybe a debatable maybe. So that's not good. Like, they need, like, BKBs first of all won't do jack against the Faceless Void, and against the physical right click damage of the Invoker, it's also not going to do anything. Also Batrider, also Vengeful Spirit swap. So BKB is off the table. No one's going to be getting Blink Dagger on MiTH, or no one's going to be taking Blink Dagger as a high priority item. Initiation, it's the best bet, but it's once again Initiation now on Invasion's terms. Lakel's going to be bashed down by catching it, but now with the Aegis. MyPro's though going to get a nice damage drain. They will lose Lich over in mid in the meantime. Ghost might be going down now, but there's not enough mana for a Thunder God's Wrath. Ketchik wants to reinitiate, but once he has enough damage, he will pull the trigger. It's going to be SD to run into the Ogre Magi. There's 3 Fire Blasts and a Magic Missile to the face, plus a Sunstrike. Kaboom! That's Zeus down. 2 supports and an Invoker. Now they're looking for more. Faceless Void has a Chrono. He's going to look for the bash, and it will find it right before the stomp lands. Who else is next? GG. Invasion, they don't beat MiTH. They embarrass MiTH in a decisive Game 3.
Yeah, I really like their draft, and I think they kind of showed why. MiTH, it was so greedy to go for a draft with a whole lot of damage, but not a lot of lockdown, and in the end, they didn't even have the damage. Like, I don't know, I don't think there was really a clear direction for them if they ever got behind. And, well, I suppose that is going to round us out for the day, at least on this channel. This has been a best of 3 between Invasion and MiTH, and Invasion will continue on in the I-League qualifiers here in the Southeast Asian region. I've been Grandis V. I've been joined by Mike Lorstein. If you like the casting you see here, you can follow us on HeflaTV at Twitter, Facebook, and here on Twitch. Later on in the day, we'll have Battle of Central Europe Season 3 on hitbox.tv/HeflaTVHB1. But outside of that, I think we're done here.
It's going to be Aftershock versus Denial for that game, by the way. So switching gears to the European division.
Yep, okay. So, thanks for watching here, and hope to see you soon in the future. If you want to support us, watching the ads and listening to music after the fact is a great way to do so. So, see ya.